What makes a good superhero love interest? It sort of depends what you're looking for. Do you want more drama for your story? Pick somebody that's really easy to kill. For me, I'm more drawn to characters that just really make each other happy, really make the other person's life better. I like it when people are happy. Spider-Man has had a lot of love interests. He's over 60 years old, to be fair. But there's one that you probably haven't heard of. I'm sure you know Mary Jane Watson, Gwen Stacy, Felicia Hardy. You might even know about Carly Cooper or some of the other ones, the worst ones. Here's the thing, and it's something that multi-author works like Marvel Comics run into somewhat often. When you have so many people writing the same characters, you can run into inconsistencies. Do you like Mary Jane Watson? What do you like about her, personality-wise? Is it that she's really confident and independent, sometimes? Is it that she loves Peter back, sometimes? Is it that she's always understanding of Peter's responsibilities as Spider-Man, sometimes? So, let me be clear. Most of Spider-Man's love interests have been written, at least at some point, to be really fun to read, genuinely good additions to the comics and to Spider-Man's life. I'm not here to argue that Mary Jane's a bad love interest. Sometimes she's amazing, spectacular. What I am going to do is look at a character who was consistently fantastic and talk about why. A character whose only ever appearance in all media is an obscure run of Spider-Man comics set on an Earth that was never used again, and hasn't been seen since the series ended in 2012. Earth 20051. In the Marvel Adventures series of comics. The history of this series isn't that important. All you need to know is it was a set of simple, mostly one-off comics aimed towards getting children into reading comics. And it was bad. I mean, it was fine, but it was very much for kids at the start. You don't get a lot out of reading those early comics. Nothing ever really happens. But somewhere along the way, they decided to bring on an author named Paul Tobin. Marvel Adventures Spider-Man issue 53 is the start of the famous, I'm sure you've heard of it, Tobin takeover, which also marks the start of an actual consistent advancing story and world. Before, the comics were just one-offs. They were completely disconnected from one another and constantly contradictory. Issue 53 may as well be issue 1. They even go over Spider-Man's origin again in it, and it has no real connection to anything else Marvel Adventures up until this point. This is also the issue to introduce us to Sophia Sanduval, also known by her nickname, Chat. Chat is a mutant with two powers. The first is the ability to talk to animals. The second is the ability to get on with animals. If I could talk to animals, there would be violent debates. Magpies especially have a lot to answer for. Her friend is Emma Frost, and if that name means anything to you, forget it all, because this universe's Emma Frost doesn't have much in common with the X-Men Emma Frost, beyond her psychic powers. Both of them are around the same age as this universe's Peter Parker, who's 15 years old. The issue starts with Chat and Emma in Peter's school, and it's revealed that the two have basically been going around together, doing whatever they like, using Emma's psychic powers to make people do what they want. Chat is visibly not feeling good about any of this, but she goes along with it because Emma's sort of her only friend. Emma sucks, by the way, on purpose from the author, written to have no respect or boundaries for anybody, including Chat. Emma sneaks a peek into Peter's mind when he saves them from a falling sign and finds out that he's Spider-Man. She peeks a little bit further, finds out where he goes to school, then shows up with Chat to learn more about him with her psychic powers. It's a bit on the nose, but I'm still a fan of how positive Chat's immediate opinion of Peter is. The whole time Emma's poking around in his head, psychically sharing what she finds with Chat, Emma can't really understand why he bothers helping people. The idea of being anything but totally selfish is completely alien to her, but Chat is so impressed by Peter, it's a really cool moment. I'm a sucker for seeing characters get appreciated. A bit later, he fights off the goons that Emma mental powers into deciding to rob a high school, and it's all smashing. Emma's got her fill of excitement and is ready to move on to the next thing, but Chat decides that she's done manipulating people and stealing with Emma, and starts to attend Peter's school with him. That's where the issue ends. It's a wonderful introduction. It's hard to call the art in this issue bad in any way, but after this issue is where it gets just pure good. I could talk about these stories for ages. I really love what they did with Captain George Stacy and his relationship with Spider-Man in them, but I'm gonna stay focused on Chat to try keep it some shade of concise. The stories are far from perfect. I mean, check out this Three Stooges reference. Peter Parker and Chat are 15-year-old Three Stooges fans, but I still gobble these comics up, dude. I love them dearly. As the issues go on, their relationship develops pretty naturally, and they actually have some super well-written chemistry. Chat's a bit forward about wanting to date him, but that makes sense since from her perspective she already knows so much about who he is as a person. She's been in his mind, thanks to Emma. She's also not sneaky about any of it. She really does try to tell him about all that she knows, but the opportunity just slips past. I think it's a really cool dynamic, and not one that you see often, to have the superhero's love interest know more than the superhero does. I really like that she knows he's Spider-Man before she even really knows who Peter Parker is, and he's the one who doesn't know about her powers, or that she knows he's Spider-Man. It's a kind of reverse of the normal, which I find really interesting, and the best part is, they actually make use of it in the story. Unlike most superhero love interests, Chat is totally supportive and accepting of his responsibilities as Spider-Man. Oh, you've got a rush from our rooftop picnic for an unexplained emergency? I hold zero grudges, and I'll be waiting for you when you get back. And they don't wear it out either. By issue 57, which is essentially issue 5, it all comes out. Her powers, her knowing he's Spider-Man, all of it. And they have a little argument, but it's not overplayed, and it's resolved in a very satisfying way shortly after. It's just good, solid writing. That's what you have to understand. These comics, from issue 53 onwards with the famous Tobin takeover, are just good, well-written stories. I'm only going into one tiny aspect of them by talking about Chat, but there's a lot I could talk about, from the interesting concepts they explore to an overall amazing understanding of Spider-Man as a character. I really recommend you find them and read them if you get the chance, because you do not understand what a strain it is to not just read every single issue to you out loud instead of summarizing broad character strokes. The series continues on from issue number 61 with issue number 1 from 2010. Ignore the issue numbers, it's just not important. The new run also comes with another slight bump in the art quality, and it's just super pleasing to look at. By now, with all of the cats out of all of the bags, it's just everything that I wish you got to see in all fictional relationships, but rarely ever do. For one, they actually work amazingly well together. Their dialogue is so fun, and they're both just good people, and the stories demonstrate that a lot. Better yet, they're on equal footing. Just look at how he introduces her to Doctor Strange. He's not speeding ahead in superhero mode, oh sorry honey, I'll explain later. She's right next to him. She is constantly in the loop. She's not constantly fighting for attention. He respects her capabilities, and he actively makes time for her interests too. Interacting with pigeons, going on an animal feeding date, spending time away from New York together. He's giving just as much as she is, and that's a whole lot. It's really rare to see a fictional relationship have both people be on equal footing and be so genuinely loving. And they clearly talk all the time about everything too. At first, very early on, he does the classic, I didn't tell you I was in danger because I didn't want you to worry, before they've had that conversation and worked it out. But past that point, it's like second nature. She always knows exactly what's going on with his bad guys. She knows his plans for taking them down, and sometimes she acts as an actual component to spring said plans. She knows what he's worried about. When he feels like he's being followed, she just knows. We aren't even shown the scene where he tells her about it, because of course she knows. Of course he told her. Why the hell wouldn't he have told her? But how many Spider-Man girlfriends would he actually tell about that? Oh, it's nothing. It's just a weird feeling. Shut up, dude. Meanwhile, Chat be like, hey, do you reckon this is the guy you said might be following you? She got told, and she listened and brought it up on her own because she is so competent. She's not just his servant either. She very clearly has her own things going on that she has to go away and deal with. She joins a detective agency to help fight crime with animal espionage. She has something going on with her sister that's a big secret that never got resolved because the series ended too soon, but it was still interesting. Chat is anything but a placeholder assistant or just an oversharer. There is a lot going on in her life that doesn't involve Spider-Man at all, and this is something a lot of other characters miss on. To be a good love interest, you have to exist and be interesting even if the love interest part was taken away. Now look, I won't lie, okay? There are some dumb moments and writing decisions mixed in there too, but they're delegated to single panels or speech bubbles or like an out-of-character page, not long-lasting arcs or inherent character traits or disagreements like you normally see screwing up other comics. It never feels like she's blaming him or acting out of character for drama. Even when her pet owl dies saving Spider-Man, she is so sad, but she doesn't turn it into a 4-issue argument and a temporary breakup. One of my favorite things about Chat that really makes her stand out from most other love interests is that she is actually useful, but never overshadowing. The comic is always Spider-Man, it's never the Chat comic, but she is so freaking useful. Dude, a lot of authors aren't able to make a character look competent without making them completely take over, but that doesn't happen here. Peter is still very intelligent and very good at fighting criminals. They don't need to dumb him down to make Chat look good because Chat is already good. She helps him out with animals very often, she makes distractions to help him change into costume without ever needing prompting. She just really feels like an actual partner to Peter. The biggest thing of all, though, and something that I think is totally inexcusable to have absent from a superhero love interest, is that she helps him back to health when he's injured. I don't know about you, alright, but if I was dating somebody who went out and fought people that had knives and guns, I would probably try to help a bit. Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to help you take down the rhino, but let me learn how to stitch up a bad gash. Let me make sure you're eating enough food and getting enough sleep. If I'm techie, let me make you some useful gadget. Or let me have a bunch of maps of the city so you can call me anytime you're chasing a dude through the sewers. The person I love is being shot at and stabbed towards. Let me do something in my free time to make sure they stay alive. Let me just buy extra painkillers or something. If your superhero love interest hasn't learned how to apply a tourniquet, I'm not interested. Alright? You can become a master in like an hour. Invest the time. Have supplies for making a splint on hand. Show that you care a little bit if they die. And on that topic, alright, because effort to keep your partner alive is one way of showing that you care, but there are a few others. Pick one. Pick at least one. Chat actively tells Peter that she loves him, cut and dry. Her thought bubbles tell us how much she admires him and thinks he's great, and Peter has the same for her. Brilliant. Awesome. That's exactly what I needed. I just want to see them be happy. Of course they're dating. They each think the other person's fantastic. There's no one-way love, there's no zero-way love. It's two-way all the way. Look at this scene from before Peter knows that Chat knows he's Spider-Man. Look at it. They're having a picnic on the roof, and Peter has to go do Spider-Man stuff, but ends up back on the same roof as Spider-Man. This is possibly my favorite page in all of comics. I mean it. It's not some huge defining moment, it's not some outstanding pose with incredibly detailed art, it doesn't have any incredibly meaningful text, but it's just so fun. It's just so happy. If every page in a comic book made me feel the way this page does, I don't think I would do anything else with my life but read that comic. Chat understands him, respects him so much, and genuinely, clearly loves him. She keeps up with him, supports him, and they have a ton of fun together. Normally you can either get the good chemistry or the usefulness, or neither, but not both. And after years of stories telling me that people are good together, but not having them do funny dialogue together, it's such a good read. Chat is fundamentally different from other Spider-Man love interests. Unlike most, but not all, versions of Mary Jane, she doesn't have any bitterness or reservations about him being Spider-Man, or missing dates, or being late, because she knew him as Spider-Man first, then chose to get to know Peter Parker. Why would she want to change him? She loves him. And half the time, she's running off to war right beside him, not getting left behind. Unlike Felicia Hardy, she actually likes him as Peter Parker just as much as she likes him as Spider-Man. She is maybe the only love interest to see him as one entity. She sees him like the readers do. Chat might be the only Spider-Man girlfriend who loves him for him, as he is, without any holdups or reservations about the effect that has on their time together, or any wishes that he would change just a little bit more to her liking. And she actually makes him a better superhero. It honestly feels like she's the second half of Peter Parker when you read these comics. It's actually a little jarring to go back to Spider-Man media without her after every time I go back and reread these. It feels like she should be a crucial part of his character always, like Lois Lane to Superman, and it's a shame she was introduced so late into Spider-Man's existence after most of his peripheral characters had already been established. It's difficult to make any significant relationship changes that late into a setup, no matter how you write them. Just look at Carly Cooper. But Chat and Spider-Man are so goddamn great together, and I want more so badly. I'm a very strong believer in, and I mean seriously, you should see what I can bench. I'm a very strong believer in there being no set rules in writing. I honestly believe that anything and everything can be pulled off by a skilled enough author. You don't need to follow a specific formula or structure or set of rules to make a good story or a good character. But there are definitely things that make it easier. Could you make an entertaining, interesting story about an annoying main character going through daily tedium with nothing of note happening? I think yes. But with the time and effort it would take to pull that off, the same author could have written 3 entertaining, interesting stories where they weren't trying to make it more difficult for themselves. I think this applies to all rules in regards to writing. So long as you're an actually skilled author, the rule is not really a requirement, but it does make the process easier and take less time. Unfortunately, most of the time when authors attempt the loveless relationship challenge in their stories, they aren't able to pull it off, and they aren't even doing it on purpose. Now, please understand, almost any of Spider-Man's love interests could be Chat. I mean, they might not have her powers or a name or even a personality, but they don't need that. What really makes Chat stand out is the writing. Deciding, yeah, let's have Spider-Man tell his girlfriend about the supervillains he's fighting. Let's have her actively want to help. Let's have them love the hell out of each other, and let's have them be really understanding when the other one makes a mistake or acts imperfectly. Those writing decisions are what make Chat stand out over the other characters, but they don't have to. Everyone could have those. If you're writing a love interest, and you can't answer the question, why are these two dating? Why do they even like each other? And it wasn't on purpose? Then you've made a wrong step. By now you may have realized, this video isn't just an excuse to talk about an obscure character I really enjoyed when I was younger. It's actually an excuse to talk about character writing in general. If you want to write 2 characters in an unhappy relationship, go for it. But if you want to write 2 characters that each think the other person's the coolest person alive, then do that. Show us that. Don't write 2 people that hate each other and act like it's all good. Maybe in the story the characters haven't figured out that they hate each other yet, but you, the author, definitely should have figured it out. And that's the video! I hope you enjoyed. These were some of my first ever comics, and I gotta say, I'm really glad I started out with something so quality. They're printed on A4, by the way. I just got wicked huge hands.